Alrighty, hello everyone who is watching on the VOD replay afterwards. I don't really have a plan for what I'm doing today. I'm not even really treating it necessarily, I guess, like an actual live stream. It's more or less I just have a few hours of free time this afternoon, and I figured I may as well do some little things around here that I've been wanting to do for a while now. And I figure may as well throw on the live stream, and if people want to watch it, then cool. But yeah, nothing really crazy I'm going to be doing today. It's going to be a lot of, like the description says, a lot of small stuff. So the main thing I really want to do is get rid of these sea lantern lights that are all around the chocolate room, covered by a green carpet, and I want to replace them with the light command block, which I actually already did a week or so ago in this little area over here as a test, and I really like how that turned out. I think it really cleans it up, so that's what I want to do for the rest of this room. And then I believe I also want to do this in the nut room as well. I think that's the only other spot that I still need to do this. I might have done it already. I don't really remember. But yeah, so the carpets that are colorful are actually supposed to be there. These are seen in the movie. But the ones that are just lime green are not supposed to be there. They were just there to cover the light up. And it makes everything look a little clunky. At the end of my last stream, I also mentioned that I typically every few months come through different areas of the factory and I think of little improvements I want to do, or if I get a new idea that I want to implement. And for the chocolate room, that usually means I just come through and add in little more candy things, whatever you want to call them. I haven't done it in a while in here, and it's definitely due for that. The main thing that I want to do is get rid of this patch of the crystals, and instead of having it centralized right there, I want to spread them out a little bit more evenly. I kind of like how they look over here. They're more in the background and the shadows. So that's what I want to do. Similarly to how I did the candles. The candles are just supposed to kind of be like little mushrooms, candies that you see in the movie actually growing on the grass. So that's what those are, and they actually are supposed to be where you see them over here, like where they're clumped up. So that's what those are. But I've been doing so much work on the new rooms in the factory recently, and some of them are so large that it kind of has dethroned the chocolate room as, in my opinion, kind of being the most impressive room in the factory. I think this should be the most impressive room in the factory. So I'm still thinking of some ideas of ways that I can improve this while keeping it as close of a replica as possible to the movie. Just to keep the wow factor up. And I think that might just be myself, that I've just been playing on this map now for like 8 months or something like that. I've been working on this world. I've just seen it so many times that it's not as impressive to me as it is to probably people who don't spend 8 months playing on this, you know. But I do have some ideas, so that'll probably be done in the future. But yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna start doing this here. It might not be super riveting to watch, but I figured I may as well throw the stream on. Why not, you know? And then yeah, you can see over here, like, I used to have this whole thing covered up with the carpet, and now I don't have any. They're just the lights. I also toyed with the idea when I was going to start doing this. I've always used lime green, either concrete when it was added, or before that I used wool, lime green wool, for the grass in all my chocolate rooms. I've never was someone who used grass blocks. I'm not a fan of how that looks. The dirt just, it's too immersion breaking for me. I just can't force myself to think that the dirt part of the grass block looks like chocolate. So I've always, in all my builds, have used my own blocks to make the chocolate, and then the lime green, either wool or concrete on top. And I thought about maybe trying, before I did this, switching it out with moss to see how that looked, because I like the color of this. This is the most accurate color to the movie of any of the blocks in the game. But the texture is rather boring. And the moss block texture is just more interesting to look at. So that's why I actually experimented with that in a really small area. I think it was just this little outcropping right here I replaced with moss blocks. And I hated how it looked, so sticking with the lime green concrete here. I don't really remember if I've ever seen other people use the lime blocks. It's just much more common for people to use dirt, or grass, I should say. But the last stream that I did on Sunday was a lot of fun. It was nice having people here live, because I think it made for a more interesting watch of actually, having like a conversation going on. And I realize the reason that doesn't really happen on my streams is, one, because it's a small channel, which is completely understandable. But also, I stream at a really odd time. I usually stream in the mornings, like late morning or early afternoon. Like right now, it's 3 o'clock in my time zone. So there's just not a lot of people. At least not a lot of people that watch my videos are online at this time. But this is the main time of the day. More so the late morning, early afternoon. That I have free time to do this. But I might see if I can start maybe doing a few more streams on the weekend, because that was really nice on Sunday night, being able to do that until like 9:30 at night. But I usually I'm not usually playing games during the evening on the weekends. I'm usually doing other things. This is a block right here, the nether wart block, that I want to start also putting in other areas of this room, because I really like how it looks. That has a good texture. So yeah, I'm not anticipating this stream, or probably for most people watching it, this VOD that gets uploaded after. I don't think it'll be nearly as long as the other ones. The last one was my longest one I've done yet. It was over 2 hours long. I don't think this will be anything like that. It's just a casual little, spend a little bit of time doing some work. That's the best way to, in my opinion, that's the best way to work on a build that's this large, because this is the first time I've ever completed this factory, and it's the first time that I've ever got this far along on anything this large in this game. And it can be really, I don't want to say draining, but it can get, I guess, uninteresting if you sit down and play it for like hours and hours at a time. I think maybe when I first started working on this map last September, that's probably what I did. I probably sat down and I was able to sit here for multiple hours, like 3 or more hours in an evening or something, and work on it. But then, the more you're actually like spending time on it. It just becomes more draining. And instead of forcing yourself to sit down and like be like, okay, so 1 or maybe 2 days a week I can sit down and spend like 3 hours, 4 hours in one sitting working on it, and I'll be able to get a lot of progress done that way. I find that it's better if you just sit down and if you can like spend half an hour a day working on it. I would rather do that instead of forcing myself to sit here and do this for hours. I think that also the reason I was able to do that in the beginning is because building the exterior of this factory is pretty simple, but you see your progress like very rapidly. So even though it's not like challenging to build because it's mostly rectangles and squares, the exterior of this factory, and because it's all one block, you know, it's kind of mindless. You can just kind of, especially if you're using World Edit, just very quickly get some progress made. And it's rewarding because like 5 minutes spent building a rectangle, like a wing of the factory, and then another 5 minutes carving out some windows and putting in a little bit of details, like on the roof, putting the steps around, or putting in like a small turret or something. You know, in less than 20 minutes, you have like a huge area that's built. So that really like motivated me to be like, all right, I'll actually spend multiple hours working on this, because then within like, I don't remember exactly how fast it happened, but I would say within like a month, probably less than a month, I had like the exterior done, because I would, a few times a week, I would just sit down and spend a lot of time working on it at once. But the interior, it's a lot different. It's a lot slower doing the interiors, like much, much, much slower. Definitely over half the playtime I have on this map has been spent on the interior. I would say 3/4 of the time spent on this map I've been working on the interior. And it's just really hard to sit down and want to do all that in a long gaming session. So doing stuff like this where I just hop on for half an hour to an hour a day, or every other day, or every other day, I find myself being motivated to actually get a lot of stuff done. It's like, this is something that I would, like, I don't want to do necessarily. Like, it's boring work replacing all these lights. But it's something that will help so much that can just get knocked out in like half an hour. Usually when I start working on a brand new room, I'll play for maybe an hour or two, and then I get bored of it. And then I have to come back another day or wait a few days. It usually takes me 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 sessions to finish one of the rooms I'm making. And then if we're talking about one of the rooms that was actually in the movie, like the chocolate room, this thing took me weeks to do. Probably, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks to get this done, this room alone. But again, that's not me sitting down here 3 hours, 4 hours a day. It's like sitting down for maybe 45 minutes to an hour and a half each day. I guess that's why my progress is kind of slow. And when I have people always asking me, you know, when the world download's gonna go out, I don't really have an answer, because my process isn't super fast. Definitely a slow builder. Not as slow as some people though on YouTube. There's some creators I watch, and it's a good thing that they go as slow as they do, but I can't go that slow. And it helps because this build isn't like a super detail-intensive build. You don't have to sit down and spend 20 hours working on a single wall, because you have to put in so much detail and texture work. That's just not really my thing, which is why I like building this so much, is because it requires none of that, really. If it hasn't been obvious, I don't really have a pattern. Just every time I see one of these carpets is where I'm going. So I'm probably missing some along the way. I'm gonna have to do a few flyovers afterwards to make sure I haven't missed any. And this will actually also allow me to put some blocks in spots that I couldn't before. Because, you know, if I wanted to put a light block, like this is actually the main area that I was thinking of. So like I couldn't before put a light block here because it would always be visible because it's the block goes down every time. Now I can actually put a light block in here and light this up because I've always hated this shadow. Hey commentary, it's nice to see you again. Not really doing anything too interesting this stream, just doing some miscellaneous tasks that I've been putting off for a few weeks. So right now I'm just replacing all these lights to clean up the floor a little bit. Like this is an example. Before I wasn't able to have a light block here because it would be visible. So now I can actually put these in all the way around like I wanted to originally. It just helps the lighting be more even on the walls. This kind of gives a cool look underneath the chocolate room. It starts out with just a flat brown floor and then everything gets built up on top of it, so it's all hollow. But it gets the point across. Okay. I think that I talked about it before. The only downside of using these blocks is that apparently they don't work with some texture packs and some shaders. So if, when people play the map, they're gonna have to either just test and see if their shaders or texture packs work with it, or they're gonna have to just play with no shaders or texture packs, which is what I recommend for this map anyway. The shaders would, I think, make it too dark. Because all the lighting is meant to give a moody look for, like the brightness. The way I'm doing all the lighting is assuming that your brightness is on 100% with the vanilla textures. So the shaders would really make some areas look dark to the point you probably wouldn't be able to see anything. But yeah, after I finish this here in the chocolate room, I need to do this as well to the nut room, although it's not nearly as much stuff that needs to get swapped over in there. The room is not nearly as large as this, so it won't take as long. In the last stream, I was talking to the people in chat about what rooms next to build, and we the three of us in there who were talking a lot decided that the room called the engine room would be pretty interesting. So I've been doing some like very preliminary planning on what I want to do in there. Not quite ready to do it yet, which is why I'm not working on it today. But maybe the next time I stream, I'll probably start working on it. Don't really know why I had that there. And I think getting rid of these carpets will help a lot with the immersion as well. I mean, for as immersed as you can get in Minecraft, I guess. Probably put one right there. Yeah. Alright, so now I want to start the process of flying over this from a few different angles and seeing where I missed some. I have to do the ones over here still, but I think I got most of them on this side of the river, except here's some. Alright, I think we'll put one here. Yeah, I think that looks better. Okay. I think I got most, if not all of them. Here's one. Yeah. It's sort of tricky to find these because when I was putting them in, I had to try to be sneaky about it. I believe, yeah, there was one of these things that I was trying to remember that I didn't put lights all the way around, and it was this one. That should help smooth it out a little bit more. Oh, well here's a... Forgot that there was one in here. I do have some under some of these colored ones, but I'm not going to fix it because there's no reason to since these are intended to be here anyway. Alright, I got a bunch over here to do. Okay. There's one hiding back here. I want to do that as well. If I missed a few more in the back, I don't think I did, but it wouldn't be a big deal anyway, because I'm not really intending for people to be flying around here in creative mode. You know, people are obviously welcome to, but that's not like the intended way that I'm building stuff, so. They might find a hidden one somewhere that I just wasn't able to find. The reason that there are some colored carpets around is because I put them in place because that's where they are in the movie as well. And in the movie, they look like they're kind of intended to guide you on where to go. and I took that concept and ran with it a little bit. So there are some over here, and there's a few on both of the bridges. But I also added some down here because this is the route they walked in the movie. And since you basically have two different ways to go here, I outlined it with the carpet. Basically trying to motion that those are the intended walkways for like the best viewing experience. But you can obviously go wherever you want and it'll still look good. I think I might. Oh, here's one. Other than that, I think that might be all of them. Oh, this one, I guess, doesn't need to be there. Flying over, I just noticed something that I don't like. I try to avoid having long flat surfaces like this. I do as much as I can to prevent that from happening, and it seems like these two have snuck by me, so I'm gonna, after I'm done with these lights here, I'm gonna go fix this spot real quick too. Just another little thing to constantly be improving. Like same with right here. I mean, I know there's probably almost never going to be a reason that people would necessarily be over here, but I just don't like this hard edge, so even just doing that, to me, looks a lot better. So now instead of it, I mean, there's still a hard edge, obviously, but instead of it being 4 blocks long, it's only 2 blocks long. And like, I guess that was actually intended. Like this, not a super big fan of how that looks. So I'll probably like, you know, do something like that. It's okay to have it in some places. Like I don't want the whole thing to look like it can never be straight. So that's why I'm going to leave this here, but over there I don't think it looked good. Just doing a final pass to make sure I didn't miss any green carpets hidden away somewhere. Here's one. I'm fairly certain I got all of them on that side. Oh, well, this hole's not supposed to be there. Something that I would like to do, I don't know if I ever talked about it, is I do want to go back, like once the majority of the rooms that I want in here are built, I want to go back and try to add a little bit of interactivity into some of these rooms. Like nothing crazy, nothing that wouldn't either be in the movie itself or like not in the spirit of the movie. So like the main thing that I'm thinking of is the inventing room. There's some interactive things that I want to put in there so the room just doesn't look so static. Although this is more of like a 3D art map more than an adventure map. You're just meant to kind of look at it. But I think it would be like the ultimate Wonka map if I was able to put some interactive stuff in here as well, because then it would have everything, in my opinion. Alright, I'm pretty sure I got all the carpets. If I see some turning up later, I'll fix them, but I think this just looks so much better than having those carpets everywhere. Like, it's single-handedly improved the look of this room, I think. It just looks so much... I mean, saying it just looks so much better is sort of a shallow statement, but it really has improved things a lot. Having the carpets visible is a very like old school look, and I just like there was really no way around it to get the lighting working in here without using light blocks. I didn't know they existed when I started working on this. The other alternative that I did in a few areas of the factory was to use glass, but that looks arguably even worse, you know. So I'm glad to finally get rid of all that stuff. But like I was saying, I want to fix this flat wall right here. I don't like these hard angles. So I'm just gonna bring it out a little bit with just some freehand. Well, it's all freehand, but you know what I mean. So even just something as simple as that will help. And I'm just gonna keep it the same height. The way I do it is I do one of the solid colors, I put the grass on, and then whichever color I didn't use, I use two different colors, the brown concrete and black, or brown and black terracotta is what I use for the chocolate. Now I go back and I just randomly like delete some of them, then I put this color in, then I look at it. And what I try to avoid is stuff like this. I don't like it to look like a uniform checker pattern. So what I'll do instead is I will just replace something. That's the biggest thing that I try not to have. There are a few spots where I let it be because it would look unnatural if it didn't show up somewhere. But I really don't like the checker pattern look. Like this over here is fine, even though technically it is doing it, but because it's on an angle, it looks okay. So that alone helped a lot, more so than just having it be flat. And I might close that. Maybe I'll do that. Then I can put this in right there. Yeah, I like how that looks. And then I didn't like this square shape. Although I think I had a light block somewhere. Maybe I didn't. I just made it worse. Yeah. And I think that looks alright too. Another thing I try to avoid doing is having long stretches where it's like the perfect diagonal blocks. I try not to go many more than like 4 or 5 of them. I try to keep it look like there's no pattern to it. And then sometimes like areas just slip by, you know, that I missed. Like I finished the terrain of this room like in October or November of 2023. So that's been sitting there like that for months. I just never really noticed it before. And that's kind of just how it goes. Like I'll notice something. Like just right here, I noticed I missed one of the carpets. It's just hard to do all at once. You have to look at it over multiple times. And like I talked about at the beginning of this stream and at my other stream, I believe, as well, I like coming back through the areas that I worked on and finished a long time ago and sprucing them up. And with the chocolate room in particular, I do it the most with the chocolate room. Because it's the biggest room and it's supposed to be the best looking room in my opinion. And the chocolate room it's due to have a quote unquote refresh. By refresh, I really just mean to go back and fix some things or like update some stuff, add in some more detail. It's time for this to happen again. And like there was a spot I was just looking at that I didn't really like anymore. I think it was right here. I don't like how long and flat that is, so I want to kind of with all of this. So I'm going to add in a little bit of variation. It's always good to look from the top because then it really shows where the true lines are. So you can tell that right here, these are like 3 straight lines that just has some like cuts in them. From the top it looks kind of weird, but it looks okay when you're actually on the ground. So I think that helped a lot. This is also a little bit flat for my liking. I think I'll do that. Even just really simple stuff can help a lot. So like I like how that looks better. I might do that just so those 2 shapes aren't copying. And same thing here, I don't like how these look symmetrical. So I'll put that in, and that helps. This is a little bit long, so I'm gonna shave that down. Yeah, no worries, man. No worries at all. But yeah, thank you for the compliment on the chocolate room. It's definitely my favorite area. Okay, so, and then over here, I realized this is kind of like the exact opposite of what I was talking about over there. Like it's very straight, but because this is a like walkway down, I actually wanted it to look like that. And there's a little cave in here that I'm gonna add some stuff in later. Oh yeah, it was over here. Now the reason that this looks like it does is because it was hard to recreate this. But the path they walk is they come over here, and then there's sort of like an area where there's like a very gradual slope, but it has a little bit of a ledge at the path that they walk down. So this is the way that they walk coming over here, and then they come down here and go into the boat. And when I was like trying to figure all that out, I basically decided that it looked the most accurate if I kept this looking sort of straight. Now, one thing that I don't have in my chocolate room that is in the movie is, I'm not going to carve it in, but there actually is like a stone looking path that comes to about here, and it also comes down on this side like to here, so it's only on this part like this. And I put it in at one point, but it just looked so out of place with everything else because the rest of the ground is completely green that it didn't look natural enough for me to keep it in. It worked in the movie because, you know, obviously there's more depth and texture with the actual strands of candy grass and not just the flat surface like in Minecraft. So it was one of the things that just didn't really translate over from the movie well. But that's really the only thing in the movie Chocolate Room that I don't have in mind. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I didn't delete that. So I think that's enough of here for now. We're gonna go over to the nut room, and just because I'm streaming, I'll actually use the boats to go over instead of just flying. It's also a nice change of pace to actually experience it how I intended it. So go into the scary tunnel, and then the tripwires activate the lights right before you go down. And then they turn themselves off after, I think, 10 seconds. So if you like put this world on a server with multiple people, the lights aren't just constantly on after they're activated once. So if multiple people want to go through them all in the same save, they can do that, you know. It's the rooms. I still haven't done, I think on my very first stream I was talking, or second stream maybe, I don't remember. I was talking about how I'm not sure if the whipped cream room is in the correct location. I was thinking, I haven't watched the movie again to check. I originally thought it was here, but I'm thinking it might actually supposed to be over there. So I have to look into that. And if that's the case, this is such a small area that it wouldn't be hard to just tear down and rebuild over there. So, and then the candy canes room, I could just copy with World Edit and then paste it somewhere else. There wouldn't be enough room to put it in here because I have other areas that are like right up against these walls on the other side. So the candy cane room would have to go somewhere else, and I'd have to think of something else to put in that corner. But yeah, we'll go down here. These are, other than the, what is it, the coffee cream room that has, I'll just get out of the boat for now. And this is going to sink if I don't get rid of it. I want to talk about this because I think I talked about it in one of my videos like a month or two ago. There are only 3 doors that you'll see on the Chocolate River ride that will never have an interior to them. That you can't go explore, and that's the hair cream room, because on the other side of that door is literally this extension of the Chocolate River, so there's just physically no room to build it unless I went underground underneath it. But I don't really want the entrance through this door. You'd have to like drop down a few blocks on a ladder, and I just think that would look clunky and not in spirit with the movie, so I don't want to do that. So this will always be just a false door, which is unfortunate because since it's in such a prominent spot, literally it's like right across where you go, like when you come in. I really wish that it didn't have to be a false door, but it just has to be. And then the only other ones are these 2 right here. Oh, excuse me. And that is because, once again, on the other side of both of these doors is just this extension to the Chocolate River. Now, I suppose if I really wanted to, I could build a room here and just try to disguise it. But I think it would look very obvious and clunky that there's like something over here blocking the view, the natural view of the Chocolate River. And this river over there, the only reason it's there is to create an illusion of distance, to make it look like it's larger than it really is. But I can't really build rooms behind these doors. So those will be the only 3 doors in the whole factory that are false, where there's nowhere to go. And I just noticed that the doors are broken for some reason. So I just picked 2 random names from the list to name them. This is the Raspberry Bananas room, which I might actually change because I actually have an idea to build a real Raspberry Bananas room. So this will probably get changed out at some point, but for now that's what that one is. And then the one that's down here is the Forbidden Room. And I think that's fitting, you know, if it's forbidden that no one can go into it. Well, it makes sense because there's nowhere to go, so it's as close as I can get to justifying not having a place to go through that door. Anyway, we're going to continue on to the nut room. Yeah, I think that's a pretty funny reason for that room to be called that. All of those ones that we just passed by do have a full interior on the other side. Yeah. So the main reason that I even decided to build this extension over here is just because I wanted there to be a way to get to the nut room without being forced to go through the inventing room first. Because in the movie they go through the inventing room and then they pop out into a hallway and walk to the nut room. But I was just thinking about it and I was like, there's no way that he had it set up, if we're thinking like if this is a real place, that the only way to get to one room is to go through another room. So I added in that entire corridor with 7 new rooms just to have another pathway that leads to the nut room, essentially. But we'll go in through this way. This is the intended way for the movie tour. And I have a lot of things I want to put in here for like interactive things. But what we basically just did, walking from there over to here, brings you into this little spot. And like I was just saying, I wanted another, so going up this way and going up those stairs will take you to the nut room. But I wanted another way to get to this area that wasn't the inventing room, so that's why I built this door. This was originally just going to be a room, but I decided to make it an entrance, like hallway. So there's this hallway that leads to the Chocolate River, which is where I built in all of these additional ones. And it basically just travels the length of the inventing room, if you want to think about it that way. So like, we just did a circle basically. That's all it is a loop. So we went through there and just walked straight back, but if you want, you can, instead of going in through there, you can go this way, turn left, and now we're going by, like, the inventing room is on the other side of those domes over there. You take this door, and then that brings you where we just were, into this area. So it's basically a bypass to the inventing room. So yeah. This room, I have had this door sitting here with the sign on it ever since I made my very first video, like months ago. And I just keep putting it off and putting it off actually building this room. I don't really know why, but I need to get this thing built so I have all of these rooms done already. But yeah, we're actually going to take the long way up. You can take the elevator to teleport to the top if you want, so you can avoid this. Because we're going up, like, probably 100 blocks. So it's a pretty long walk. And actually, before we go up, I will be right back. Alrighty, so before that little break, we were walking up the corridor here to the top. I know this looks a little bit funky, but due to the spacing, I couldn't put slabs here because then it would just, you know, it would just like mess things up. So like that. So the best way to go is to go to the outside edge. I suppose I could maybe go back and try to like rework this, but this is a real pain in the ass to build, so I don't really want to change it. But some of the doors, here's the large cavity. Chocolate money bank. Some of these rooms I showed in my commentary series on my channel, I think. I know the spacing between rooms seems kind of weird, like you'd think there'd be some on some of these walls, but on the outside of this tower I had to really space out the rooms so they weren't interfering with each other. So even though it looks random, I used to actually have a door on like every single one of these flat surfaces, and there was just no room for me to build all those, so I had to take out like half of them and relocate them to other areas. But there is a method to the madness on how they're spaced out. National Gluttony. Like, see, like how these two are right next to each other, but that's because they're, like, you know, completely separate sides. Jelly bean stalks. I'll go inside this room because it is on my Planet Minecraft post. So these are actually based off concept art for an unused room in the movie where the elevator comes from the top down. That's why those tracks are there. And they're literally colorful beanstalks. I just noticed that there's a block showing right there. It's colorful jelly bean stalks that have pods that are spitting out actual jelly beans. And then you can go into the viewing platform in the center and you can see a better view. So all these blocks are supposed to replicate jelly beans like in the concept art. They go up and then they fall down and they get collected and sorted. In the jelly beans room, which is much earlier on in the Chocolate River ride. But yeah, I really like how this turned out. I tried to make it as close to the concept art as I could. This is probably, of the additional rooms that aren't just right in the movie, this is probably the most accurate room to anything in the concept art. So this is one of my favorites. And I'm going to go up here for a better view. Let's see, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 7 beanstalks. I really like how the shaping on them turned out. I think it's pretty cool. And then it goes down a giant hole. So yeah, one of my favorites. Squirrel barracks, so that's where the squirrels live. And I put that is the room that is closest to the nut room, which is just right up here. So I put them next to each other because I figured, you know, that makes sense. So you can see how this is quite a long walk. That's why I put the teleport in if you wanted. And then the nut room is right here. One sec, guys. Alright, so in through here, I talked about why this hallway is here in my commentary series that was focused on the nut room. So it's kind of a long explanation, so I'm not going to go through it again, but here's the nut room with all of the cats acting as my squirrels. I was too lazy to sit through the cat spawning process to get the ones that have the fur that matches the squirrels the most, like the gray ones. So I just left it like this. We got the hole down here that goes to the incinerator. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. So the things that this room has never had a revision to it. like how I was talking about with the chocolate room, where I go back and I change things to make them look better. I've never done that with the nut room. It's the only one I have not done. So there are a few things that I need to do. What I'm going to do today is get rid of these glass blocks with the lights and the carpet that goes all around to replace the lighting to make it look more even. Same thing with here and over there. And then another time, I want to redo the spirals that are on the ones that are like off the axis, if you want to think of it that way. So like these two run, and then there's these two here that make up like the crosshair. And then I had to add in these four, and I spent a lot of time trying to get the shaping right, and I was happy enough with it, and it looks okay. But the more I look at it, like especially like that, like when you're looking at it from this angle, it just looks too straight. So I'm gonna rip up these four, fill it in blue, and then come up with a completely new design to make them better match this. But that is not going to be something that I do today, because last time I did it, it took me like over an hour, and I don't feel like doing that today. So for right now, we are going to patch up these. I'm going to start by doing all the white ones. They are spaced out perfectly even, like from each other. They're not random. So that's why I want to make sure that I don't put these in the wrong spot, because it allows the lighting to look very consistent. And the reason that, like, I want to actually get rid of some of these shadows, and before I didn't want to do that because I would have to put in like more glass blocks and it would look really clunky. But now that it's invisible, I can actually like light this up better. But that might also be something that I do another time. Alright, so I'm going to do the blue ones next. And that alone has helped a lot. Now I can do these. And what I want to make sure I do is mark them out. I just noticed I never put lights on this side. There should have been lights there. Huh. See, little things like that, you know? So marking these out, then I can just go back and do this all at once without having to worry about where the like proper white starts, if that makes sense. Yeah, the lighting is actually really useful, and the cool thing is it's actually not a mod, which is awesome. So it's vanilla. So when people download it, as long as they're just playing with the regular textures and no shaders, this will show up for anyone who downloads the map, which is like my stipulation, because I knew that like lighting mods existed, but I didn't want to use them for that exact reason, because I didn't want to have to require another mod for people to download. But because this is literally just a Minecraft command, a vanilla command that was intended to be used for adventure map makers, it's really cool. But yeah, it's definitely all in the details. And I've talked about it numerous times, but for this build in particular, because everything is supposed to look so smooth and so like industrial and clean, there's not a lot of opportunity to put details in. So in the areas that you can try to make it look good, I try the best I can. Alright, now we can just go and do the blue real quick. So like this area in particular, like this will just look so much better not having this carpet here. I think once the floor renovations get done, the nut room was the last one that looked kind of scuffed from the main movie rooms. So I think they'll all be pretty much up to standard, at least mostly. You know, to the point that I think they're presentable for other people to play. I still want to go back and add some more detail to the chocolate room though. So you can really see how moody it looks without those lights. So now I'm going to go in and do the whole ring around. It just looks so much better. So that helped things a lot. Now, because I have the ability to get rid of those shadows on the walls, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to start out by putting the lights where I originally had them, because what I don't want to do is like completely cover the room with lights, because then it looks very bright, like almost artificially bright. Like how the TV room looks, but in the TV room it's supposed to look like that, but the nut room does not. It doesn't look as sterile as that. So I don't want to like spam lights everywhere. But I do want to get rid of these giant shadows because they were not in the movie. Alright, so I'm going to do one there, here, one in the middle. Do that everywhere. Well, by everywhere I mean all 4 sides, or 3 sides. Alright. So that improved things. But obviously there's still the giant shadows. Alright, I have to be careful about this. Is this an even number? It is. Alright, let me do one on the top, one on the bottom. And then, is that going to fix it? It helps. But now we got those in there. I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go do that to these ones as well. And then I did it, I think, no, I did it there. Then here, there, and there. And you can just see how big of a difference that is. So this room is definitely going to be bright. But I'm not going to make it overwhelmingly bright. But these flat surfaces definitely should be. If I think it's too much, what I can always do is go back and use a different strength on this light. I can go from 1 to 15. I usually just either use 15 or I do 8 because it's basically in the middle. But I could play around with maybe using something like a 12. Alright, so I'm going to do that. Keep this on the same. I think I'm okay with that shadow being there because there's no way to avoid the shadow of Minecraft. That's just how the game is coded. Even if I put a block right there, we still get the light, we still get a shadow. So I'm just gonna, yeah. 1, 2, 3. I think there, yeah. But I do think that this captures the vibe of the movie a lot better. I mean, because there was no darkness in the nut room like this in the movie, you know. Okay, next thing, I want to work on these corners. Because I already have the 2 lights there, I will just put 2 more there. And then we will do that. And I think that looks perfectly fine. I forgot to do these ones. Alright, I think these probably need one. Yeah, they were a little dark before. Yeah, so like that shadow, that is like right on the cusp, in my opinion, of being too dark for this room. Okay, I did it closer to the glass. Yeah, I think that looks really good. Now we just need to focus on these rings. Would it look too much if I just did that? Like, is that too bright? I think that actually looks pretty good because once again the natural shadows of the game is going to darken it up a little bit. And since it's not white like the TV room, it just hides a lot better anyway. So yeah, we're just gonna do that. And over here, this is like the darkest spot. I can't even tell you like how happy I am to be able to get rid of like these things being around everywhere, you know. We'll do this just because it's the entrance, so it can be a little bit brighter than the others. Alright, now the corners. We'll continue that. Do I want to put one here? Does that look too much? It really makes that look bright. And then maybe I can just do that, because then it'll make the rest of them look the same. So they're not. So that one's not brighter. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And then I'll do this spot on the walls last. So I'm gonna get these curves done. I know this is probably boring to watch, but hey. I enjoy doing stuff like this every once in a while. You know, taking breaks from the huge, massive projects and just working on the little things. Keeps it fresh, so I'm not doing the same thing all the time. Because I was admittedly getting a little tired of just working on rooms, because the process of building rooms is, even though they're all different, the beginning and end stages of building them, they are all very similar. So it gets a little boring after a while. Alright. The last thing I really want to do is work on these. And I think that's good enough. I apologize if anyone hears like a kid in the background. There's someone outside the window walking with a child. Alright, let's see how it looks. Still need to do this lower portion. But from here up, I think is a huge improvement. I don't think I'm going to add any lights to the ceiling though, because I mean, there's already so many lights here, and I don't want the whole thing to be such a uniform brightness, then it's going to look really fake and plasticky, and I think it's okay that the underside of these rings look a little dark. I think it makes sense. So, we're going to leave that alone, and if I really don't like it, I can come back later and work on it. Okay, let me actually do this over here. I need to see basically how many lights I'm gonna need. I really think all I need is like this top part, because the lights on the floor should take care of these bottom two rows. So I think that'll be fine. Whoops. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to also go around and do that. Well, first, I'm just going to do the flat parts. And then I will worry about like doing behind these things. I guess I'll go in the center. Like that. Well, how did I do this one? Oh, that one's different than all the others, but I did do it in the center. Okay. gonna need to do an extra one there. Whoop. Alright, and then I'll probably just do one there, one there. Happy with that. Alrighty. I think that looks a heck of a lot better. Now what I need to do is just fix the floor real fast, and then I also want to, I do want this to be brighter. I'm probably going to leave the pipes alone though, because I kind of like how it's blocked from that. Like, these are supposed to be pipes. I don't think I'm going to add lights to them. But I'm definitely going to add blocks to this, or lights to these. Because in the movie, this is a pretty prominent feature, and I just couldn't get it to be bright enough. I can get rid of these blocks, because if you fly around in here, you can see them, and I don't like that. And since I can, I'm just going to do this to really make the inside of this thing light up. I mean, that alone has helped a lot. Just to get rid of this weird pattern, I'm going to do lights on the bottom as well. And then we'll do one in the corners up here. Alright, so I think the bottom half is looking pretty good. Now we'll do the top section. Do one in the middle. I don't care if it's like necessarily perfect. Like, you can see a little bit of shadow, but that's okay. And I think that looks a lot better. Yeah. Now it looks like it should be illuminated like it is, or it's how it's supposed to be, and not all dark. Alright, so the last thing that I really want to do is fix the lighting on the floor. And I don't think I'm going to do a pattern on it. Like, all these other lights follow a strict pattern because you could actually see like the block, that the light block. So I didn't want it to look all random because then it would look really messy. But because I'm just trying to light this up evenly anyway, I don't think it matters because you don't see it, obviously. So I'm just going to light it up until I think each section looks good, and not worry about a pattern at all. I don't think it's not really requiring a lot. This is very similar to how I did the TV room, the floor of the TV room. Alright, so like there's a dark spot there. There's one here. Well, actually, it's on the white. So I can like tell right now that that looks a little bit too dark. really can't overdo it. That's not really a thing. Alright, so here's a really bad dark spot. It is easier to see them if you're actually trying to look for them. If you're just casually like coming in here to look at the room, you probably wouldn't even like notice that it's darker right here. But since I'm like really looking out for them, they're a lot more obvious. Since the whole entire roof is supposed to be lights in the movie, I'm not worried about the floor being too bright. Alright, here, there. It's a lot easier to see like from above than what I'm doing. I shouldn't be doing it from the floor like that. I should be coming up and looking. Then you can really pinpoint it. Now I'm probably going a little bit more in depth on it now than I need to. Like some of these shadows are so faint that nobody would ever notice. In fact, let me go up from here. This is the main viewing area, so... Alright. The only ones that are really sticking out to me... Here and here and there. So, here... Right there, and then this one's kind of bad. This one. The reason I keep putting the light out of my hand is because that makes all the icons go away. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Hell of a lot better than it did look. Alright, so I do want to do this as well. Do the little room over here. I'll probably keep that light in, even though it doesn't look super great. Alright, now I can light that up. This. That's not really necessary. I changed my mind. I don't want this light here anymore. And that can be easily fixed. Like that. And we'll just say that, you know, the light from there is just shining in here, so. I don't want this to be too bright because it's dark out there. And then the elevator is the elevator, so. Huge improvement, I think. The reason my frame rate just tanked here is because, well, on the outside of this room is like the giant room where the glass elevator ride starts. So there is a lot of stuff for the game to render once you enter the nut room. I lock my FPS at 100, but as you can see, it drops below that with the specs I have, which is, you can see on the other side of the screen. I have a 13th gen i5, and then the graphics card is not really important for Minecraft, but a 3080. And this map, if I turn the render distance up to 32 chunks, like, so if I'm not going to, because it'll really, it's just annoying. I don't want to do it right now, but when I'm building in this world, I keep it on 24. But whenever, like, I'm playing it just to experience it, I'll do 32. And in this area, I'd probably be getting more like 70 to 80 FPS instead of 100. Just because it is such a huge space outside of this room to render. And it's really like, so like it's really when you kind of go through here, like you'll see it probably gonna hitch up. Yeah, like it just dropped to 83 right there because it was loading in new chunks with all that stuff, which is all of this. So this room is a very taxing on a system to render. So yeah, like I was saying, this is a very taxing area of the map to load, and then it basically stays on this scale for the entire ride. So this is the biggest, the only area that a frame rate will really drop if you're, you know, downloading this map. I mean, you can see right there, like when I'm flying by, when it's having to load new chunks and unload, you know, it'll go down pretty low for a second or so. So, but it's playable, definitely. One thing that's interesting, so this is the nut room that's actually completed. Like this is the one that you go inside and that we were just working in. And all the other ones, what I basically did was I built this one and then I copy and pasted it. So they actually do have complete interiors. I'm not going to go back and change out these sea lanterns on the outside to this because there's so many of them on all of these it would take forever to do, so they're going to stay like that. The ones that are really visible like this I probably will, but the ones on top I am not. But yeah, we can, like, I'll go into this one. And you can see it's basically a full interior. It isn't complete because I copy and pasted all of them before I decided to like put in all the cats. And you can see this is when I only had 4 swirls on the ground, and the wool, I had wool instead of glass. No squirrels, you know. What else isn't done? Like the rooms out here obviously aren't built. It's just this goes right to the outside. But yeah, technically they all have an interior. You just can't go to any of the other ones except the one that is actually modeled. I do not remember where we dropped down. Let me find it. Right here. It'll bug me if I don't rebuild this properly, so... but yeah, so we'll just go back into the main one here one last time, and then I think that'll pretty much do it for this stream. So yeah, I think huge improvement to the nut room. Like, night and day difference of how much better this looks compared to how it did just half an hour ago. The last thing that it needs, like I said, is I'm going to come back in here and get rid of these 4 white stripes and reshape them to look a little bit more like these ones. But then once that's done, I think the nut room, you know, is as good as it ever is going to look. So I'm really happy with that. So I know this stream was probably like one of the most boring out of the ones I've done so far because it was just doing like little housekeeping things, you know, that needed to get done to improve the overall look of the factory. But I think it's definitely an improvement. So that's pretty much gonna do it for this stream. I'm not sure when the next time I stream is. Probably right now, tentatively planning on doing one tomorrow in the late morning, early afternoon. Maybe at some point in the next upcoming week, I might try to do one in the actual evening, so more people have a chance to watch it, like maybe sometime over the weekend. But after this upcoming weekend, I'm going to be having a procedure done, like a surgery, that'll keep me like pretty tired, and I won't feel like doing much for probably a few weeks afterwards. So once this weekend is over, that's why I want to try to do a few more streams this week up until Sunday. From this upcoming Monday onward, I'm probably not going to really be doing any live streams or any video making or even just playing Minecraft at all, like this world at all. Probably for at least a week, definitely a week, probably 2 weeks. So maybe 3 weeks from this upcoming Monday, I might feel up to it enough that I'll be able to sit in front of the computer for long enough to be able to do some streams, because I really like doing streams. It's really casual. And even when there's not really anyone watching live, I just like talking about what I'm doing, you know? So it's fun for me to do. So yeah, I guess if you're still watching this part of the video, look to see a few more streams, hopefully, before the end of this week. And then after that, I'll probably have a hiatus of 2 or 3 weeks. But on that note, I appreciate you guys watching live, and I appreciate you guys watching the replay afterwards. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.